Namaskar, my name is Dharmendra chahar. Today we are going to discuss about the human rights. Human rights are related with the life, liberty, equality and dignity of the peoples. Human rights are enforceable by the honorable courts and guaranteed by the Constitution of India. If there is a violation of the human rights, then peoples have their authority to go to higher judiciary, honorable courts to preserve their human rights. Article 32 ensure that all people can go to Honorable Supreme Court to protect, to conserve the human rights. Same way in the state, under Article 226, any person may go to Honorable High Court to preserve the human rights. So the Constitution and the honorable courts ensure and guarantor and guardian of the human rights. Human rights mostly related with the four things: life, liberty, equality and dignity of the peoples. Before we systematically discuss about the human rights, let us shortly learn the basic concept of the human right violation is. What actually the meaning of human right violation is that? Human right violation means that the misuse of power by the government or affiliated institution of the government which restrict the freedom of peoples, or the misuse of power, interference of power in additional institutions. If there is a violation of the power or violation of the rights are taking place, that means human right violation are taking place. Now, as we know very well that the government, which are supreme authority in any state or in any country, if suddenly or surprisingly a government institution come forward and arrest a person and your freedom or your rights are restricted, or you have been arrested, or your businesses are completely taking out from your own hands, that is means human right violation are taking place. Now, human rights violation if take place in states or in countries or at the international level, there are many institutions who fight for the human rights. Across the world, there are many independent institutions who work across the country to preserve the human rights or to raise the question or the concern about the human rights. It is important, necessary that all people should be aware regarding to their human rights. Now, before we go to the learn about systematically human right, let us learn the basic concept of the human rights. The human rights are related with the rights of peoples and the freedom of peoples. If suppose some person who tortured the other person, or a government institution who torture any person, then there is a question of the human right violation. Now, human right ensure that there is a freedom from torture. The right to life is ensured by the human rights. Suppose if any inhuman treatment is taken by the institution or by the government, then human right protect these inhuman activities. The peoples are protected by the inhuman activities. Like suppose a child who do work or doing a work in industries or in factories before the age of majority, then human rights protect all these things from the slavery. And the human rights also protect the rights of people from the forced labor, because in our constitution there are provisions which restrict the forced labor. No one can pressurize the people to do any kind of work like which are defined in the forced labor or anything. Now, human right ensure the liberty of peoples. It ensure that all people should have their security. All people have their freedom from movement, and all people have their choice of residence. All people have their right of fair trial. All people have the right of privacy. All people have their freedom of thought. All people have freedom of conscience, religion, freedom of opinion, freedom of expression, and right to marry and form their family. On the other hand, human right ensure the participation of peoples in one government directly or indirectly, or to choose their own representatives or the human right ensure the rights of nationality, the human right ensure the equality before the law, the human right ensure some universal fundamental rights to all peoples. And these all rights are basically defined in the human rights. And all these rights cannot be compromised by any institution, because these rights ensure that all people have their own life, all people have their own dignity, all people have their equality, all people have their own uh, equality, dignity and honor. So all these basic things are mostly defined in the human rights. Human rights is guarantor for all peoples, and human rights are mostly ensured by the Constitution of India, and the human rights are enforceable by the Honorable High Court and the Honorable Supreme Court. So systematically we are going to discuss about the human rights. Now let us learn, in our Constitution of India there are many articles and provision in which the human rights are very well defined. So systematically let us learn about the human rights. As we know that the Indian Constitution is the world's richest right providing constitution and enrich the rights of the people living territory of India. Now human rights and the provision which are provided in our constitution are very well defined by our constitution makers like Dr. Bhimrao Ambedkar, and there are many ideologies persons who, when written the Constitution of India, they have been systematically defined about the human right. So let us go forward and learn the basic things about the human right which ensure and be written in our Constitution of India. Now the most important article which provided in our Indian Constitution is the Article 14. The Article 14 is talking about equality before the law. It means that all people have their freedom whether they follow the law or not, because Article 14 shows that all people before the law are equal. There is a no discrimination, there is a no indifference between the people. By naturally, by birth, all peoples are equal. There is a no discrimination between the people based over caste, creed, color, faith, religion or gender. All peoples are the child of God. If we say that all people who are basically belong to a economically weaker section or they are belong to a economically rich status, that means all equals. We are living in a democratic country. We are the world's largest democracy, and we have some responsibility towards the social development. So it is important that all people should be developed their own way. Now equality before law ensured that the Article 14 ensured that all peoples in our society are equal. There is a no discrimination, there is a no indifference between two peoples. All peoples are equal in our society. If the government or if any violation of the human rights are taking place based over the Article 14, then this is the concern over on the government, this is the concern over the fundamental rights violation. So here the Article 14 ensured that all peoples are equal, all peoples must be follow the equality principles. Equality before law is the integral part of the Article 14, which say that all peoples are equal in our society. Now the next article which talking about the human right is that the Article 15(1), which say that there is a provision of the discrimination. Now we cannot discriminate between two peoples. In our society, very soon or early stages before the 1947, we have seen that the societies were divided in different parts, divided based over different faith religions. Mostly the difference between based over the religion like Hindu Muslims. We have seen that before the 1947 there are many kind of dispute emerge in our societies to birth different nations like the Pakistan and Bangladesh. This is the result of the discrimination based over religion. So our constitutional makers and the Article 15(1) ensured that in future that mistake could not be take place. So they give the provision of the prohibition of the discrimination by the Article 15(1), say that there is a no discrimination can be made between the two peoples based over gender or based over caste or creed. All peoples are equal. We all are humans. We cannot we cannot make difference between two people based over religion, like it is Hindu or it is Muslim or it is other religion or it is belong to other category. So Article 15.1 is talking about the provision of discrimination. There is no discrimination in our society. We are living in a society where all peoples are equal. Now, the next article which talking about very important human right is that Article 16.1, which say about the equality of opportunities. As we've seen in our day-to-day life that the government, whether they are state government or central government, they are providing the equal opportunities for all peoples. Equal, when the peoples provide the equal participation in society, then there is a uniform development of society can take place. So Article 16.1 is ensured that there is a equal opportunities for all peoples are given in our society. Only the peoples who belong to a economical weaker section like ST at present, they are providing the best quality education, they are been providing the best jobs, so their living standard are day to day improving. So Article 16.1 ensured that in our society, whether they are born in a poor family or they are born in a middle class, then all people have been providing with the equal opportunities. The next article which is most important ensured the human right is that Article 19.1a, which is talking about the freedom of speech and expression. Now freedom of speech and expression is ensured that all people have the freedom and expression to according to their own interest in media or in social media, they can express their own speech according to interest. Now on the other hand, when we talking about the human rights, the next important article in our constitution is providing about the Article 19.1b, which is talking about freedom of peaceful assembly. Now in democratic countries, the peaceful agitation without any violation of the law is provided. Now if you demand any things before the government, then the Article 19.1b is talking about freedom of peaceful assembly. They can raise their concern before the government, but there is not to be violation of any lawful activities. Now freedom of peaceful assembly ensure that there is under the Article 19.1b, there are many government institutions who organize the rallies or many political parties who organize the rallies peacefully. They are integral part of the Article 19.1b. Now on the other hand, when we talking about Article 1c, which is talking about right to form association or union to raise the concern or raise the issues in a large number, so that the changes may come in any form of society or in any form of government, so that more and more service can be provided for the peoples. They are provided under the Article 19.1c, which means that if you go to form any kind of institution or association or union, they are part of the Article 19.1c. Now on the other hand, the important article talking about the 19.1d is that freedom of movement within the border. Now all people or institution have the authority to do a kind of movement within the border peacefully without violation of the law or beyond the articles of the Constitution of India. They have been integrated inside the articles. So the most important point about the human right is integrated in the Article 19, because Article 19 ensured that all peoples have the freedom of speech and expression, freedom of peaceful assembly, freedom of right to form association and union, freedom of movement within the border according to the lawful activities. Now the most important article which provided in our Constitution of India related to the human right is that Article 21, which is talking about protection in respect of conviction for offense. If suppose there is any person or any accused who is convicted in lower court, then that person have the right to go to the higher court like Honorable High Court and Supreme Court for further trial. All people have their freedom to fight in the honorable courts before the conviction is completed, because sometimes we have seen that in lower courts the peoples or the accused who is under the trial is not to be counted under the fair trial. So there is a question over on the functioning of the lower courts. So for this regarding the article 21 is talking about protection in respect of conviction for offences. All people have their freedom to go to higher court for the fair trial or for the relief. So under such circumstances there is a preservation, there is a conservation of the human rights are taking place. On the other hand, the most important article regarding to the human right is that article 21, which is talking about the protection of life and personal liberty. It means that the basic definition of the human right is that all peoples have their own life, liberty, dignity and equality. So article 21 is talking about the protection of life and personal liberty. All peoples in our society have their own life that is protected by the Constitution of India. There is a personal life of any person, there is a privacy of person, so that all are protected in our Constitution of India, so that the human rights are protected in our Constitution, and all people should have their equal opportunities. On the same way, the article 23, which is also talking about the protection of slavery and forced labor, the article 25(1) is talking about freedom of conscience and religion. All peoples may choose their own religion or conscience according to the constitution. Now the most important point is that about the functioning of the honorable courts. Now as we before said that the article 32 is talking about remedy for enforcement of right of to honorable Supreme Court. All peoples have their equal accessibility before the honorable Supreme Court. If there is a violation of the human rights, then all people have the authority to go before the Honorable Supreme Court. If the people do not have money, they can, under the Article 39A, there is a provision to provide for free legal service for the people who are basically belong to a weaker section of society, or those who belong to a scheduled caste or scheduled tribe, or the children or the women or socially deprived section of people. So article 32 ensures that all people may go to honorable Supreme Court for remedy or to any kind of relief if there is a violation of the human rights are taking place. On the other hand, there is a under article 29(1)(c) there is a right to social security is also integrated in the human rights. So in the conclusion, we say that the honorable courts are play very important role in the preservation of the human rights. It protect and play very important role like a guardian or empire to protect the human rights. So here all peoples may go for the justice before the Honorable High Court and Supreme Court for protection of the human rights. Now law, as we know, that is important for any social development. It is important that all people should follow the law. If there is a illegal activities are taking in any parts of the state or any parts of the country, then it is our responsibility to raise voice against that illegal activities. The government should play a very important role to restrict those illegal activities so that there is a uniform civil social development can be taking place. As we know that we all are humans, the constitution is our guardian for providing a freedom to live own way in a society. So like a well-educated people, we have to play a very important role in our society. Now there is many other provision are also given in our constitution. In the next section we learn about human rights very deeply and may discuss about very important points about the human rights systematically. So shortly I will revise about all these human rights that play very important role in life of all people. So I hope that you like it, and if you like it, may respond according to the lecture, and it is my honor to put down different opinion over regarding to the human rights in a very ideal way, and hope so. Please be thankful.